Hi everyone, welcome to a Runco training video for the Brother JA1450NT. We hope you will enjoy this machine as much as we do. Connecting the power cable and foot controller. Connect the foot controller plug to the machine and connect the power supply to an outlet. Turning on the machine. Turning the hand wheel. Reverse button. Changing the needle. Make sure the machine is turned off. Hold the needle with your left hand and loosen the screw with your right hand. Tip: hold the needle to prevent the needle from falling into the hole in the needle plate. Slide the needle down to remove. Insert the new needle. With the flat side of the needle towards the back of the machine, insert the needle. Hold the needle in place with your left hand and tighten the screw with your right hand. Tip: take care not to use excessive force when loosening or tightening the screw. Changing the presser foot. Lift the presser foot lever. Press the black button on the presser foot holder and release the presser foot. Align the bar on the presser foot with a slot in the shank. Lower the presser foot lever and snap the presser foot onto the shank. Bobbin winding. Pull up on the spool pin and place the thread on the pin. Pull the thread towards the thread guide. Pass the thread through the thread guide from the back. Pass the thread around the tension disc in a clockwise motion. Pass the end of the thread through the hole from the inside of the bobbin. Place the bobbin onto the bobbin winder shaft and slide the bobbin winder shaft to the right. Make sure the machine is switched on. Hold a 10 cm piece of thread tightly above the bobbin. While holding the end of the thread, gently press the foot controller to wind the thread around the bobbin a few times and stop. Trim the excess thread above the bobbin. Press the foot controller to continue winding the bobbin. When the bobbin is full and begins spinning slowly, take your foot off the foot controller. Cut the thread and slide the bobbin winder shaft to the left and remove the bobbin. Tip: make sure the bobbin is wound evenly, otherwise the machine will not work correctly. Lower threading. Remove the bobbin cover by sliding it towards you and lifting it. Take the bobbin and make sure it unrolls in a counterclockwise direction. Hold the end of the thread and push the bobbin down with your finger. Pass the thread through the slit in the tension adjustment spring. Tip: if the thread is not inserted through the tension adjustment spring of the bobbin case, it may cause incorrect thread tension. Guide the thread through the slit on the left of the bobbin. Follow the slit and pull the thread towards you to cut it with the cutter. Replace the bobbin cover by sliding it backwards. Upper threading. Pull up on the spool pin and place the thread on the pin. pull the thread from the spool towards the thread guide. Step 1. Pass the thread through the thread guide from back to front. Step 2. Guide the thread straight down through the groove. Step 3. Guide the thread around the upper tension control dial, which defaults on 4. Step 4. Guide the thread up through the groove towards the top of the machine and guide the thread around the take-up lever. Tip: if the take-up lever is lowered and the upper thread cannot be wrapped around the take-up lever, raise the take-up lever by turning the hand wheel towards you counterclockwise so that the line on the wheel aligns with the line on the machine. Step 5. Guide the thread down towards the needle. Threading the needle. Step 6. Place the thread behind the guide above the needle. Tip: to make it easier, you can lower the needle for easier access. Step 7. Lower the needle thread lever as far as possible and turn the lever towards the back of the machine. Make sure the hook passes through the eye of the needle. Tip: if the hook does not pass through the needle is not in its highest position. Turn the hand wheel to move the needle to its highest position. Guide the thread around the left hook on the needle threader and under the hook that passed through the eye of the needle. While slightly holding the thread with your right hand, turn the needle threader lever towards the front of the machine with your left hand. The hook will pull the thread through the needle. Pull the loop of thread through the needle and guide the thread under the presser foot. Zip foot. Use the edge of the zip foot to guide next to the teeth of the zip. Fold and iron the seam allowance and place the fold next to the zip teeth. Attaching the zipper foot. Lift the presser foot lever. Press the black button on the presser foot holder to release the presser foot. Tip: the zip foot has a left and right bar, depending on which side of the zip teeth you will be working. Lower the presser foot lever and snap the zip foot onto the shank. When the zip foot is in the correct place, the bar should snap in place. Inserting fabric under the zip foot. Choose the desired straight stitch length with the center needle position. Guide the fabric into place between the zip foot and the needle plate. Lower the presser foot lever and make sure the edge of the zip foot is next to the zip teeth. Turn the hand wheel to make sure the needle does not hit the zip foot during sewing. Halfway through, stop with the needle in the downward position. Lift the presser foot and open the zip slider and slide it to the back. Lower the presser foot and continue sewing. If the needle stops in the downward position, turn the hand wheel towards you, counterclockwise, to lift the needle. Buttonhole. Attach the buttonhole foot and push the frame back until it stops with the plastic insert at the front of the frame. Step 1. Stitch 1A. Front bar tack. Sew 5 to 8 stitches and stop. Make sure your needle is lifted before turning the dial. Step 2. Stitch 1B. Left side. Stitch the length that is needed for the desired button to fit through. Make sure your needle is lifted before turning the dial. Step 3. Stitch 1C, back bar tack. Sew 5 to 8 stitches and stop. Make sure your needle is lifted before turning the dial. Step 4. Stitch 1D, right side. Sew the right side until the needle reaches the stitches sewn in step 1. Ensuring both sides of the buttonhole are the same. If the stitching on the two sides of the buttonholes are not the same, you can make the following adjustments. Adjust the buttonhole fine adjustment screw to ensure that both sides of the buttonhole are stitched equally. Turning the screw to the right will lengthen the stitches on the left bar of the buttonhole. Turning the screw to the left will lengthen the stitches on the right bar of the buttonhole.
JA1450NT Stitches.
Zigzag stitch 2. Stitch length 0.7 mm, stitch width 1.8 mm. Zigzag stitch 3. Stitch length 1.5 mm, stitch width 3.3 mm. Zigzag stitch 4, stitch length 2 mm, stitch width 5 mm.
Zigzag stitch 5, shorter stitch length, stitch width 5 mm. Zigzag stitch 5, stitch length 0.5 mm, stitch width 5 mm. Zigzag stitch 5, longer stitch length, stitch width 5 mm.
Straight stitch 6 with reverse stitch, center needle position. Stitch length 1.6 mm. Straight stitch 7 with reverse stitch, center needle position. Stitch length 1.8 mm. Straight stitch 8 with reverse stitch, center needle position. Stitch length 2 mm. Straight stitch 9 with reverse stitch, center needle position. Stitch length 3 mm. Straight stitch 10 with reverse stitch, center needle position. Stitch length 4 mm. Straight stitch 11 with reverse stitch, left needle position. Stitch length 1.8 mm. Blind hem stitch 12, stitch length 2 mm, stitch width 5 mm. Elastic stitch 13, stitch length 1 mm, stitch width 5 mm. stretch blind hem stitch 14, stitch length 2 millimeters, stitch width 5 millimeters. Maintenance. Make sure your machine is turned off and raise your needle and presser foot. Use the screwdriver to loosen the screws on the needle plate and lift the needle plate from the back and remove. Grasp the bobbin case and lift it out to the left. Use a soft bristle brush to remove any dust or lint buildup. Your machine should be cleaned on a regular basis. Return the bobbin case so that the triangle mark on the bobbin case aligns with the circle mark on the machine. Return the needle plate by positioning it towards the front of the machine and clipping it in place at the back. Do not oil the machine.
Please like, subscribe and follow our channels for more tutorials, tips and videos.